Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. Before we get to today's card, I wanted to let you all know that I did finish setting up my P.O. box, so if you want to send me any cards or anything like that, you can send it to the address that's on the screen right now. And this address is also up on my website if you ever need to find it, and I'm also still working on the details on doing a possible mail calling in the future. If I do decide to do that, I'll make an announcement about it possibly next month. Okay, so for today's card, I started with a piece of Canson watercolor paper taped down to a board, and I did some Distress ink blending on it. For this background, I used the colors Spiced Marmalade, Black Soot, Seedless Preserves, and Candied Apple. I've been really wanting to do a spooky Halloween sky using my Distress Oxide sky technique. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a little while, you'll know about my Distress Oxide sky technique. For those of you that are relatively new to my videos, let me explain this technique a little bit. So a few months ago, I came up with this technique, and I'll post a link up in the eye for those of you that want to see the first video that I did using this technique, but it's a really easy, simple way to make an interesting looking sky background. So you start out by blending your Distress Oxide inks on the Canson watercolor paper or any watercolor paper that you want to use, but you do need to use watercolor paper because you're going to be using some water on the paper. Next, you take a paintbrush and clean water, and you paint the clean water onto the background, doing some very easy to do cloud shapes. Basically, I just paint scribbly lines that are thin on the ends and a little bit fatter in the middle. I also randomly throw in just a few small lines. So shortly after you paint those cloud shapes, you take a paper towel and you blot up that water. And because this is Distress Oxide ink and because it reactivates with water, it actually lifts a bunch of that ink off of the paper when you blot it with the paper towel. So the result that you get from this are these really light, wispy looking cloud shapes. And as you can see, I did go over some of these clouds a second time with water so that I can blot up even more ink and have even lighter clouds. Now, they're probably not going to get to the point where they're completely white, but this is a good thing. I think that it makes them look even more realistic to have some of the color showing through them. This next step is not something that I've done on any of my other Distress Oxide skies. It's just something that I wanted to do for this particular background. I took my Wink of Stella glitter brush and I went over each of the clouds that I created. This is going to be a Halloween card, and I really like to put a lot of glitter on my Halloween cards. I don't know what it is, but Halloween makes me want sparkles, so that's why I decided to make the clouds sparkly. Though now that I think about it, a lot of things tend to make me want sparkles. The final step for my Distress Oxide sky technique is to take a white gel pen and outline the underside of each of the clouds. This is my favorite step to do because I feel like it really takes the whole background to another level. This technique is really fun to do, and I think it's pretty easy. If you decide to try out this technique, I'd love to see your results, and you can always show me things on Instagram by tagging me. Speaking of Instagram, I'm actually doing a giveaway over on my Instagram right now. I just hit 1,000 followers, and I'm giving away a $20 gift card for Simon Says Stamp. So if you're interested in entering that giveaway, you can head on over to my Instagram and you can find out on there all of the details. I'm going to be using a stamp set from Simon Says Stamp called Creepy Cute, and I'm going to be stamping the house from that stamp set onto a piece of dark gray cardstock using my Versamark ink. I heat embossed this image using a white embossing powder, and I did go over my paper with my powder tool before I stamped so that I wouldn't have any issues with the embossing. Next, I took a light gray Copic marker and I just added a little bit of shading to this house because I wanted to give it a little bit more dimension. Before I added the shading, this image was very flat, and then after I just added a very small amount of marker to this, it really pops. I pulled out a scrap piece of black cardstock and I used some scissors to just freehand cut a curve, and this curve is going to be a hill for my house to sit on. Now I have all of the elements of my card ready, and I'm going to put them all together. I took my sky background and I used my ATG gun to adhere it to a piece of vellum. Next I took some foam tape and I popped up that whole piece onto my card base. Now that is an A2 size white card base that I adhered a piece of black cardstock to. I used my Gina K Connect glue to adhere the little hill that I cut out to the bottom of this panel. And I'm still really loving that Gina K Connect glue. I'm going to order another bottle with my next order so that I make sure that I have one as a backup for when this one runs out, because I love this glue. I'm going to be using it for a while. Next, I glued down my little haunted house, and I didn't want that to be in the center. I have it a little bit off to the left. Okay, so earlier I said I had all of the elements ready, but I actually didn't have the sentiment. So now I'm going to work on the sentiment. I used a stamp from the same Creepy Cute stamp set, which says, "Which way is the candy?" and I stamped it onto a piece of black cardstock using my Versamark ink, and I heat embossed it in a white embossing powder. I cut that sentiment down to a strip using my tonic trimmer, and then I glued it onto a piece of vellum so that I could have a nice vellum border around it. I have been using vellum a lot recently. I've been really just feeling the vellum lately. I used my tonic trimmer to cut that vellum down. If you're looking for a good trimmer, this is a great one. It cuts so cleanly. I have never had a guillotine trimmer before this one, and I'm so glad I decided to get it. I used a T-square ruler to make sure that I put that sentiment on there straight, and I have it just a little bit on the house and off to the side. Next, I added some colored pencil to my windows to kind of make them look like they're glowing. I went over them first with my white Prismacolor pencil, and then I went over them with an orange color, and that's PC 918. I also pulled out my black Prismacolor pencil in order to deepen up some of the shadows on the house. And then, in order to ground my image, I added a drop shadow using that same pencil. For the finishing touches on this card, I took out my Wink of Stella glitter brush and I went over the sentiment. And then I took out a mixture of sequins and spread them across my card, going from the bottom left up to the top right. The sequins that I chose for this are some silver circular sequins and some silver star sequins in a couple of different sizes. Try saying silver circular sequins 10 times fast. The last thing that I did to finish up this card was I added some dashed lines around the border using my white gel pen. I haven't done some dashed lines in a while. I know a few people were thinking that something was wrong because dashed lines are what I do, but I brought them back for this card. And that finishes up this card, and here's a closer look so that you can see all of the sparkle. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this Halloween card using the Creepy Cute stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. All of the supplies that I used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching today and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Friday. Again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great day today.